Alright, so I thought about talking a little bit more about some of the greenhouses I've had and I'm working on at this point. Just different ideas, different things I've done since I'm doing my seed starting and plant. Gotta move the snow out of the way here. Leave my door open. And my plant overwintering setup. I mean, none of this is scientific or whatever. So this particular little greenhouse, chicken house setup, that's why there's wire on here. Well, for a lot of reasons, actually, would be even for a greenhouse, some of this net wiring wouldn't be a bad idea. I built this for the reason that, well, I needed new chicken house for moving my broilers and little chicks around in the summertime. But I'd seen some methods, and so I used some of my cattle panels that I have up around here, because I'm going to do something different there, I think, to make this particular house. And I wanted it to be dual purpose. I wanted it to be a greenhouse and a chicken house. So when I got done wanting or needing to use it in the spring, things are planted out in big pots, whatever I normally do, then I could put my birdies in here. So hence why I have these perch things, especially for laying chicks, not so important for broilers. But back to greenhouse stuff. So this is a dual purpose. That's the idea behind it. The covering is just to protect mostly from, or the chickens mostly from elements. And then I have my cross ventilation, but I need to make some modifications to this house for plants. And one of them is to get some boards, I think, coming down at a diagonal. Let's see if I can do this on the camera. From here to here. And I think 2x2s would probably be sufficient. And here to here, and the same on the other end. To help tie down and staple in. I'm reusing some of my poly plastic that I had on some of my prior houses that didn't totally get ripped up. So I've been sort of just cutting and modifying it to fit this. But I need something to tie in here, here. I mean, like down here, I can staple the plastic and whatnot to get it attached properly. The other thought was, and of course I got to do the same here on this end and this end. I have this, you can see here, this is my little opening here. I think I might put some wiring on here for when I have the chickens in here, so nothing can get in. I'll go around the back and show how that works. Same with this door. I might end up close this. I put handles on both sides and these little latches, because then I can little stuck, but anyways, I might put a door, a flap down type door in here, move my wire around so that I have some. Right now I just put that flap on there, and I can tie that down if I want. But wintertime is not so important. Summer, we need the airflow, or it'll get hotter than heck in here, and chickens will boil. So, thinking about that. That would be one modification. The other one, before we run off here, is these roosts. We're also going to be played a double roll where I could put plant trays or a real light bench top on here. But I think I need to couple things, I think, and I'll have to think about this a little bit. But I need to strengthen it in the middle part, because you start getting weight with soil, water, plants, they'll start sagging, and eventually probably will break under the load. So I'm still thinking out how I want to do that. I was thinking those shelving angles, but I don't know if that's the way to go, and I'd have to probably put boards on the side to anchor them, and they'd have to be long enough to come across, and that puts more weight on the house, and I'm sort of wanting to keep it mobile for many reasons. Now I got this sort of stapled down here, but this door, let's see if we can see that, has a handle and a latch here, and you just pull this open, pop it down. But I sort of have my plastic stapled down here. So a couple of modifications I want to make to this. But it was supposed to be dual purpose. Greenhouse, chicken house, broilers, mostly for broilers. But I did raise my laying hens in here last year along with the broilers. And but that's kind of a work in progress. And my normal mobile chicken houses I used were called chicken tractors. And those were 4 by 10 by 3 feet high. And actually all those have finally bit the dust after 16 plus years. So I made that last year instead as a trial run. Well, I'd seen a bunch of them on YouTube, and I thought I would figure out what I wanted, modify them to my specifications, what I was thinking in my head. And it probably still, if I build another one, it might change from what I have there, especially if I do them for chickens only and not necessarily greenhouse. So I thought I would talk about this thing here. This originally was a FarmTech greenhouse with the PVC pipes, plus this metal framing. This all but a couple. I'll show the pieces in the middle, not necessarily the exact middle piece, but the ones in between, the two outer ones and the middle one, are ones that I bent and added in, because the PVC pipes that they use with the weight of the snow, even light snow is not so bad, but you get that sticky snow, and there wasn't enough support, plus those PVC pipes are rounded, and so they don't help shed snow very well. And I had a couple of these just to start out when I was doing the herb plants and stuff, and they're very hard to heat. So they're basically a giant hoop, roll cover hoop house type of thing to extend your season. And so what I was trying to do here, I have this on 4x4s. Can't see, it's buried in snow now. Because this whole frame has pipe along the edge all the way around. And the piece of plastic was like putting a sweater on or a sleeve. And it was sewn together. They had the ends were a separate piece, and then the other piece was, went over basically. And but they had it sewed together on the edges, and then they had a door cut in there, and they used zippers, which are in our weather. Those things deteriorate and go to heck on a person real quick. I would never suggest using them on a more permanent basis. Build a door. So I've sort of hit a stymie on this one, I guess, roadblock, because they have the pipe on the bottom, especially on the ends too. They have that, and they have 3-way connectors, similar to that, but they're more 90-degree angled. It makes it hard to build a door structure, at least in my thinking, and I probably could explain this more in the spring. For me anyways, I found it a little difficult to work around, and that's some of the things I've been trying to figure out without just doing something and you have all that time and money put into it and then have it not work out quite as well. I mean, a person can nickel and dime themselves to death by not thinking things through. So I have a tendency to hesitate, probably my perfectionist part of me that's in there. And some projects get put on hold until I come across an idea or something finally pops into my head, and to work out a viable solution that I think will last a good amount of time and not be more of a pain or whatever in the meantime. So these middle pieces here, this like there, I got all the connectors. I think I bought some of them online at some greenhouse parts places. And it took me quite a bit of time to find what I thought might work. But, so you got the pipe clamps. And no, it's because my pipes weren't long enough, so I did have to do some modifications and add on so it would fit properly. And then I got these little rubber things here, or plastic, to help keep from cutting the plastic when I finally put it on. And I did order plastic some time ago now, and once I get the ends sorted out, and I do want it, even if I don't have a door on both ends, which I'm thinking I probably do, a people sized door, 3x6 or whatever. I still want some sort of vent opening that I want to put in to help vent the hot air in and out, especially when you get closer to above 70 temps and whatnot, and you're probably still using it for whatever reason. They get really, really hot, and you end up having to water more. And if you don't water, your plants get stressed, and you have aphids and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's better to have the circulation. And what I found is when I had just these, they had little plastic vents where it was Velcro. Might have been a zipper. I think it was mostly Velcro though, that they used to close them up. So yeah, they were not airtight greenhouses to keep warmer in the colder months, and heat loss was tremendous. So, but anyways, I'd open those up, and what I did is I got some of those little fans that you might use. If I have any, I should have one somewhere. But I put them on chains and hang them from the rafters, so to speak. And I turned them on, and what I did, because this house has been sitting here, well, not this particular house, this one I rebuilt from the two, took the best pieces, put it back together, and this is where I'm at there. But I would open it up and have the fans pulling the air in from the north and pushing it out toward the south to help drive that heat out of the house to keep, and then because it was coming from the north, and some people might disagree with me on that, but it worked, bringing in the cooler air, and that worked pretty good. But you really got to open the house up as wide as possible. The other thing I was trying to think of is what I want sides that I could roll up, like I do on my chicken house. So you'd have that cross ventilation going that way, keep things from getting, I mean, even just with the plastic roof on it, when you get into summer, it gets really hot. And you don't want to be spending, I mean, you could easily spend 2 times a day watering a greenhouse. And that's just for me working in the ones I did. And but I think really the biggest issue with greenhouses in my climate is keeping them warm enough to actually grow things. You can already have things growing, put them in a cooler greenhouse, but they're really not going to do anything but sit there. Working with that one guy, him and his wife had a greenhouse south of Brainerd, and we were discussing my funny looking herbs in the spring I was doing this, and I was working for them too. And I said, well, they're kind of purple and they're not really growing. And he said the biggest problem was my nighttime temps, because I had a non-heated greenhouse. And he knew kind of what I had for a setup. He said, you're going below 50 degrees and nothing will grow. He said, it won't necessarily die because you're not freezing. But he said, they don't grow. So once your temps hit 50 and above at night, he said, then your plants will start coming out of it, start growing, and they did. So I had to wait patiently, but it made it a little hard to take stuff to the farmer's market early on, and because the plants were just kind of stagnant until that time. So he said mostly that was fertilizer uptake. Just doesn't happen below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So, things I learned over the years. And this guy had a master's in horticulture, and he taught at the local community college for many years as a professor. So, until things happen, not necessarily by his fault, but other things. And then him and his wife were doing this, plus a few other professors had their own greenhouses in the area. So, I'll see what I find that fan quick. Come over here to my I use these in the chicken house too, which is some modifications. When I go back to working on my chicken house, I want to do is get it so the fans can pull cool air. This thing's a mess too, so I won't show you. I was looking. Let's see it handy here. Alright, we'll skip that. But anyways, it was one of those fans that you set on a table or something like that. And you could tilt it up and down. Not necessarily have it oscillating, but it was just so you could tilt the air up and down. And I hung them on chains. And hung them from the ceiling part there. And then circulated my air that way. So those are kind of the things that I've done. I would like to have a more permanent greenhouse. I don't think we'll ever get year-round greenhouse growing in Minnesota unless the weather changes. So my biggest thing with this stuff is extending the growing season, using cool crops, and getting things started in the spring. Some frost protection for some things. Yeah, I've done the row cover stuff out in the gardens. It can get to be a lot of extra work. So if you don't have a lot of hands on deck, it can be more work than it's worth sometimes. And that we've had frost hit us. One year we had frost hit us in early June and late August. I mean, that's the first time I've ever known that to happen. And a lot of gardens kind of bit the dust. Now, in our particular yard here, we have a lot of tree protection and from frost and the really cold winds and stuff. And so actually my gardens that year made it through until our normal frost time, but some of the neighbors have more open yards and their gardens were pretty much done, and that's sad because we have a short growing season to begin with, and that made it even shorter that year. So it's a matter of using what you can here, some row covering, possibly green, but you have to have space for some of that, and this yard is kind of a little hard to do some of that with, but that's some things I'm hoping to sort out as time goes on. So anyways, that's my little what I've done, what I've been doing in my greenhouses and my seed starting, and hopefully maybe people will help me with ideas on buildings, structure ideas anyways, and hopefully it'll give others ideas on what they can do. I guess I'll cut this off and talk to you guys later. Bye.